In this video, I would like to talk about an ADU that I designed for a client, which happened to be 283 square feet, and then also an idea that I have for a 288 square foot tandem tiny home by using incredible tiny homes, Incred-I-Box. One is in Los Angeles, the other is in a new area that's being developed. Let's take a look. In essence, an ADU is a 100% brand new home, usually built either off of an existing garage or built from the ground up. This particular version was a ground up version. It begins with a foundation as in a regular home. It consists of concrete, rebar, forms, the real deal. We're building a house. So, of course, this is not a very cheap endeavor here that we're talking about. So here you're seeing that they're building forms, they're building concrete, they're doing the whole deal. And you have a foundation. Next part is where they're building the flooring, the framing. You'll notice that there's new plumbing that has to be placed in there, insulation for the floors. Notice the amount of detail that it takes to build 283 square feet. Next, you have basic framing. You usually need a really decent contractor to do these things. The reason that this ADU is this size is because these were the restrictions that were placed based upon the size of the lot. Next, you'll see electrical being placed in there. You see the stubbing for all of the plumbing. It requires a new electrical box. You can see that they're setting up for plumbing supply. There's a sewer and plumbing supply that has to run down the side of the existing home. They have to install the windows, of course. But this is the perfect example of a standard tiny home. But this is something to show that you can actually live within 283 square feet, which is the reason I was interested in this project. Now you see the insulation being installed in the walls, the drywall's being applied, the drywall's being finished, the showers are being placed, bathrooms being built. Now the difference between a tiny home and an ADU is that a bathroom has to meet standard building code. So this is a tiny home. Now, to deal with the urban tiny home, there are three different categories: an ADU, a junior ADU, and one that I really didn't pay much attention to, but it's called the movable tiny house. Now, I'm going to look a little closer at the movable tiny house and show kind of what the restrictions are or the requirements for that. Now, I'm going to scroll down here and just kind of highlight what the requirements are according to the city of Los Angeles. So if you want to build a tiny home, or if you want a tiny home on your property, These are the requirements that they are stating you have to do. They're basically treating it as a home that's on wheels. I'll try to make this as easy to understand as possible as I see it. Now, the difference between an ADU and a junior ADU is that one is a granny flat. It does not require to be separated by fire, whereas an ADU is considered a completely different unit. Now, as far as the movable tiny house, they're basically treating it as RV, pretty much. It has to be licensed as though you're actually using putting a trailer in your driveway. And then they're only allowing one tiny home per lot. The things that I see that are significant are the location of the tiny home. You're allowed 4 feet minimum on the rear and the side. It has to meet the ANSI. The windows and the doors have to be double pane. There's certain specific things that have to be utilized in here that you would not normally see in a so-called RV. So in essence, the tiny home has to meet most of the home standards, but it's usually based off of the International Building Code, and they're just simply using that as part of their criteria for you to own one. Now, Randy from Incredible Tiny Homes is trying to create a community in Crystal, Nevada that is the epitome of what I call MAETOGA. He wants to use the Incred-I-Box and create a full community that's totally off-grid, which I think is a great idea. I'm creating an example of that 283 square foot ADU versus a 288 square foot Incred-I-Box version. Now, compared to an ADU, an Incred-I-Box is what I would call a creative foundation. You finish it as you see fit, you make it look the way that you want it to look. You supply what you need for it, and you don't have to wait for the concrete to dry. Now, within 288 square feet, you're not fighting the same code requirements as an ADU. So in this particular scenario, you're looking at a 2-bedroom version, one with a bunk bed, one with a Murphy bed, a living room, and a kitchen with a bar, and a porch, and a deck, and placing some extra stuff on the exterior so that you can have a creative outside. He talked about putting an oasis out there, so I thought that this was a good idea just to show it, just for grins. Take a look, tell me what you think. This is MAETOGA.